Hi, I'm Matt. I'm working on a project that's actually named Matt. I couldn't figure out a clever name for it, so that's what I did. So I kind of want to start out by showing kind of the de facto website that people go to look for locations nearby. If I can find it in sec, sorry, this is not prepared. Thank you. What? No? Right. That's it. Okay, so this is the site that's used by a lot of people. They go to here, they type in their address, and they get a list of facilities that they can go to for help for domestic violence or similar. So, for example, let's go to Chicago. Loads of lists, 58 locations, cool, right? That sucks a lot. It really, really sucks. Because, like, you have no ways of knowing exactly where something is. So, like, you can't, like, for example, what is this? Can't read that. I don't know where that is, when it's. So what I tried to do was basically, or what I did do, was take every single location that this website carries, and I mapped it. So the way I did that was basically I went to like each site or each location, and basically took the URL and then did some manipulation with that. So I'll go ahead and show you guys, and I'll explain why it's in a demo state and what the end goal is in seconds here. So this isn't 100% accurate just because this is data that's from an external site that I had to do that. Basically, I took the name of each location and put that into Google Maps' geocode API, and that gave me a latitude, longitude, which then gets plotted here. So for example, let's pick the top one up here, and I think that's Minnesota, Michigan.
Figures.
For example, Diane Coupler Resource Center. Every single one of these has that information. Pardon the 39. What this is and why I wrote this, this is not for my site. This is not for a site that I would personally manage. This would be for some other person, some other app developer, some other website. For example, that crappy other one that we were just at. They could use this, and they could use this as a way. What's that?
We can use it.
Yes. Yes. So what this is for is then, so someone else could take this and they could use it to say these are the areas local to you. It doesn't address their issue though with like the secret locations. Whatever is public is what's available here. The solution I was thinking of for that was basically saying, here are the numbers of the nearby locations. Call them. It's better than not having anything. So because you have one choice, you have the potential for many other choices after that. So it works pretty well. You can see it has some imply even over here. The Dominican Republic. There's one in UK for some reason, and India. So that's about it. It's not much to show, just besides the fact that all of these, I think it's, something like 2,400 of these are maps.
Oh my god.
It was not easy. The website that I got this from, they are not very friendly with this sort of thing. And then another issue I had was that Google, they only allow you to do a certain amount of requests per run. So I had to find a clever way, without killing my code, to basically refresh the Google API feed. Which was probably about 4 or 5 hours of just trying to solve that, for example. Trying to think what else. What it's running on top of, it's using something called Folium, which is a JavaScript library that works with OpenStreetMaps. And it just creates this JavaScript-based map. I think it's Open or WebGL, could be wrong. But you can zoom in, you can see exactly where, you can see what buildings some of these are at. A few caveats with this is that because it's using multiple layers of abstraction and then kind of resolving from there. So that resolution from that large abstraction has a chance of inaccurate data. So for example, I think I have a feeling that this one might be wrong. I can't tell though. Where the lines might be there, I don't know. But it's what this lets you do is this lets you say, I have this area in this city. Next step would then be to take that name. Next step in my code would be then to take that name, put it back into Google, and get the phone number, exact location, proper location, and any information, including like language, any Yelp reviews, any Google, whatever Google's review system is. But yeah, I think that's about it. Another thing I was working on that I didn't have much time to finish up was basically geolocation. So I got it working here, but I didn't get to work on the map. With my code, as soon as you type something, when you run the code, it gives you the top 5 closest locations to you. So that would be helpful in obvious situations, and it would prevent this from happening. So that's about it. Any questions? Yes?
How specific is your code to their website? In other words, could you take this code and easily look for other types of agencies and all that?
No. That website was actually really good in terms of how much data they had to pick up. The one thing that they did have, they had a lot of information that I could have used. I didn't want to, just because I'd essentially be stealing from a website. Like they had things like categories, they had things like language, they had a lot of information. And if I took that, I would basically be stealing their work. I'm not going to do that. So the solution for that would be to use things like Yelp or use other services, very similar to the domestic shelters, and then kind of gather everything from there and build up a bigger picture. Yes?
How'd you actually gather the data, like a web scraper? Or?
Yes, that was, actually I can show you. It's really crappy code, pardon the language.
It's a hackathon, it's not a...
Cool.
You don't expect perfect code.
Yeah. Bring that code up. Let's let you know.
Analyze it one by one.
So here's the bash script I wrote. It's all it's doing is it's basically it's doing wget and then doing some really janky regular expressions stuff. Some odd stuff. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, because we want to see those red X expressions.
Never know. Yeah, so look at that.
Oh my God.
It was either I write the HTML/XML parser or I just do that in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I did
that's
that.
pretty awesome.
I'm that guy.
So is your plan to do like multiple scrapes to get the phone numbers and
Yeah.
addresses?
So that's the next step. It would be to then use probably Google, probably Yelp. The method I've used in the past is gather as much data and then say, I don't have this data, then make another filter, apply that to everything, and then just keep doing that very iteratively.
Second follow-up.
No.
That would be an easy kind of embed ultimately to local websites.
Yeah.
And you said you could narrow it down to non-all.
Yes, because that I think is like 4 megs, and on my laptop it takes 20 seconds to load if you zoom in. So, yes.
Did you
pick this area and just tell a little bit about how you decided, or you have a team, but you pick it because of the weakness of?
Yes, the issue I saw, I came into this event not knowing anything about the domestic violence situation in terms of like support. So I started looking, and I wanted to do something related to maps because I'm doing some other project related to maps. And I couldn't find anything, like zero. I couldn't find any maps of where any domestic violence comes. And I'm like, that's insane. That makes no sense that doesn't exist. So I decided to make it myself. Yes.
Since you geocoded all of the locations, is that data available somewhere?
I can make it available.
Because
Well,
what I'm saying
it's
is that
actually, I'll
would
make
be
it.
a starting point for data visualization with other third-party
Yes.
data sources.
Yep.
That you could go up in something like Google Fusion and
Yep.
map, LAS case data against
Yeah.
shelter locations.
I've worked with a lot of
Census
that.
data with those
Map, I didn't want to do that just yet because map data is a disorganized mess in general. And it's just, whatever.
But with this work, you now have essentially a beginning to a data set that you
Yes. Yes.
could use them out.
Yeah.
Are you going to reach out to the VD shelter website?
No.
Why not?
I think Alicia, she was telling me that they make, like, I guess they sell data of their users. I have moral reservations with any company that does that, so I'm not. So if anybody wants this, just take it from me. It's all available.
You said it's on GitHub,
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
or beginning.
Yes. Yeah, this is literally being loaded from my GitHub, red-bin.github.io. I can send it.
Did you submit on that post?
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to another reason why I work on this is because I'm not a fan of like using CRUD apps, because when you're dealing with user data and storing that user data, and the potential risk of someone seeing that either stored locally or stored on a remote server. After working in IT and working in security, I don't trust any CRUD application. So like, just any sort of form that you fill out. So I basically refuse to write a CRUD app. And so the solution would then be to write something simple that you don't need to type anything into and you just get.
Might want to explain what CRUD means.
I don't know what it stands for.
Create, update, delete.
Thank you, everybody.
Create report, update, delete.
Yeah, that's my stance.
Any other questions?
It's more like
Yeah.
I believe ProCalc is up next.
Okay, so,
Are we rolling?
so we called our project app, whatever, ProCalc, which doesn't sound like much, and it's not really supposed to sound like much. It's what's behind it that does all the magic. So, just some basic information before we jump into it. I'll pull up number one here. Some of the stuff that we're looking into. So I'm a private practitioner, and so while a lot of people do legal aid, pro petitioner stuff, I do both sides of it. So one of the big issues that I see a lot of times is pro se litigants getting into court, having a case to present, and then I have no choice but to rip it apart. And so what we wanted to do is help people either build their own case, or sort of like the first presenter was working on, help support those who are going to support them, advocate. So the big issues were gathering evidence, to a degree laying foundations for evidence, organizing that evidence, because honestly goodness, your time in front of that judge, every moment is precious, and being able to convey your story. And then, as close as we could, taking that organized evidence and translating it into the narrative you want for an order of protection. Some of the things that we looked at: limited English, limited understanding of technology, and then some of the privacy concerns. So, we tried to look at just a global scale of things where a lot of people have cell phones, and we just oriented ourselves towards cell phone usage. Just some basic statistics, just from a cursory analysis of the info that's out there. You go edge to edge in the country. People in DV cases showing up, over 90% of them one side pro se. That's, in a courtroom, that's just a hot mess. And it goes across, and we all understand, and it's almost cliche at this point, that legal services are strained. They don't have the resources to be able to do it. And I don't know how, I know we talked about two big jurisdictions here, but between Illinois and New Mexico, Illinois now has the biggie where you can do unbundled legal services. So a lot of stuff I do for people that are pro se litigants, where everybody has a finite amount of cash, but especially for a lot of people that are going into these cases that would otherwise go pro se, to be able to offer unbundled services and coach them if they can get that information to me where I don't have to extract it and spend more time, which in a cash nexus equals money. I can take it and then regurgitate some information to help lift them into court. So what we wanted to do is be able to take the allegations necessary to look at what you would need to be able to support a case under the Domestic Violence Act and the evidence to correspond there. Just give some basic information on definitions to help educate them the best that we could. And there's always that ethical concern that you don't want to be able to give legal advice, obviously. And then do sort of a case builder. And we understand that there's other apps out there that are doing things for case building. But what we wanted to do is be able to, when they build that narrative, not just tell a story where they're typing into their phone, but also add documents, add video, add audio, whatever will help them support that narrative. So, and be able to transmit that information with relative ease. So, anything from taking a snapshot of a police report on the sergeant's desk to a video of somebody, transporting you to the hospital before you make that report, and being able to tell that story. And there's going to be a difference here between, and this is one of the issues that was raised before, admissibility and relevance, right? So not all this stuff is going to be automatic evidence admissible in court, but it helps refresh a recollection, or it helps somebody else understand your story. And there's nothing more intimate than being in that car ride with them, or being at the police station, or seeing the house or seeing the children as they scan the damage afterwards. And here's ProCalc. So before we get into the nuts and bolts and all the good stuff that happens in there, what we were really looking to do was to create this app that wouldn't be just like a big red flag on your phone. I have cases all the time where one of the biggies that people go into is somebody else, just spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends in general are always meddling on phones. And so they go onto a phone and they're messing around. The last thing you want to see is something that says like, get my abuser app type of thing. So what ProCalc does, and there is a limitation here, and we'll discuss this at the end, is to be able to take something that looks fairly innocuous, download it onto your phone, and then once you do the initial very short setup, flip it, and it suddenly becomes an operable calculator on your phone that with the correct inputs will then go into an app that sits behind it and allow people to work on building their DV case.
Ah, there it is. Okay, so this is our app, ProCalc. All right, so you open it. Okay, so you run it the first time, and it tells you its true intent in this sense. It tells you how to add stuff. Scroll. There you go. Double scroll. So you have an FAQ. You have so it stands for like protective calculations. It's a tool for survivors to gain evidence necessary to build their case and to store it securely as well, away from watching eyes, adversaries. So you go down here and it talks about privacy and stuff like that, and what if my phone is destroyed. So a consideration is like if your phone is destroyed, one of the things we were considering is like a panic button that would push to the cloud. It's an encrypted database, so only you with the password would be able to open it. So that was one of the considerations for a panic button. That's later implementation, but it's a valid implementation scheme. So we go down, close your messages. Okay. Skype or everything. What a wonderful presentation.
Speaking of privacy, yeah.
Speaking of privacy, you have loaded way too many things on here. You want iMessages too? I am not a MacBook user. That is unfortunate. That rolling wheel of death. Skype is evil. Okay. Okay. Now, so we type in a passcode that we want to use for our secure database. So let's do. I'll use a simple one, but really you should use a longer one. So I'll use like the default one, which you definitely shouldn't use. 8492. So I hit submit. Looks like a regular calculator app, and if I open it up again, the second time it goes around, it'll just show this. It'll just show a regular calculator app. So I can calculate stuff. Yeah, boring. Okay, so I hit reset. So I hit 8492, and I hit equals. Oh, shows up the new part of the app. What is this? Secret. So we go into, like, we want to build a case, right? So we hit into new and continue. So this part's cool where it gets picked by state. So we only implemented Illinois for now, but we can implement more in the future, and it's pretty easy because you have a drop-down menu. You can pick your state. So I'll pick Illinois. Describe some stuff like what is physical abuse in the state of Illinois, some legal jargon, blah, 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 blah. The ease of use for translation is the entire app's like text is in one location. Like you can edit it in one location. So translator just needs one document, and you can translate the entire app. So that's cool. Instead of actually knowing how the app works or anything, you just send them off the text, and they can just translate it. They don't have to worry about the technical details out of their hands. So we scroll down. It sends the source of the material, so you can hit that link and go off. So here's the cool part. This is where you describe the different things, like who was the abuser in this case. We'd be like, I'm gonna write Colleen. Okay. I'm not even gonna put a date. I'm gonna put today. At the hackathon. And what happened? He blew me away at the hackathon. Careful. Okay. So I scroll down. I can add photos. So it goes into my gallery app. So the emulator doesn't have a proper camera, so it has these weird green text, but I can add that photo. Actually, it didn't select. I'll just close. How do you select it like this? Does it work the same? I can also bring up my phone to show it. Like you can select a photo. Ah, there you go. Okay, so you can select multiple photos. You hit open. And it pops up right there, showing you the ones that you're gonna put into the database here. So then you hit save allegation. You saved with success. You go back. Ideally, it would go back to like the main screen when you hit save allegation, but now you can retrieve the case. So now you can retrieve the stuff that you input for this case. We're going to implement like timestamps and then also retrieving the photos from the database. That's the hard part because we have to get we have to convert the images to bits and then like encrypt it and then decrypt that bit stream and put it back in. So that took a really long time. But at least we got the text working for now. But we use SQL Cipher, which uses AES, which is a really good encryption platform. So yeah, that's what we did. right now.
And one of the big things too is for the data entry, to just leave it sort of open and fluid. Because, like a when, a lot of times it might be reoccurring, or it might be, while they're thinking of something that happened to them yesterday, wait a second, that happened at Christmas too, or around Christmas time. So, we talked too about sort of a sort on how you would probably want to lay those out in a petition, but balancing that with recollection of the events, just to leave this stuff as open as possible and give people fluidity to be able to tell their story.
So like ease of translation, security, obviously like hiding in plain sight, so it looks like a calculator app, nobody's gonna really look into that. And even if they looked into the file for ProCalc, they wouldn't see anything like misleading. Like they might see a database in there, but like they can't open it. It's encrypted, so it'll all look like garbage anyways to them. Yeah, like future considerations is like a panic button, so if they're in the app and reporting something, they can swipe, for example, and then it would ship off to like a Spider Oak cloud account, and like it would be there. Yes?
Once you've taken a picture and put it in the app, can they then delete it from the gallery?
So that was going to be a consideration. We could either force delete, but I wouldn't necessarily want to force delete. I would put it like a advisory to delete any personal or like sensitive info off of your gallery, so you don't store it on your phone, because like if somebody just opens your gallery, they see the photos. It would be like an advisory, like it's stored in this database encrypted, but it's not encrypted in your gallery. Right. So remove it from your gallery if you think that this could put you in harm's way, for example.
So you said there are other apps out there. How is this an improvement upon?
So the other app.
The other apps, for example, there is one called Document It, and so it's called Document It, and then it doesn't do like the hidden feature. It's just like an app that comes up with the form, and so this is an improvement because it's hidden in the calculator.
Also the privacy.
And then there's another one that I forget the name of, but that one has some privacy issues where they will, rather than the data being stored locally on your phone, it is stored somewhere else, and then it can get sent. I don't know how the technology works, but it can get sent somewhere where you don't want it to get sent, so it's
without your
privacy
permission.
thing.
So it's like your data is in control of you. Like, I mean, you're in control of your data. Nobody else can have access to your data without obviously the password. Like, you have access to all of that. You can use it however you want to use it. Like, you can just write this, and if one day you feel necessary that you want to use this, you can. But like, you don't have to. It doesn't force upon you something that might be unwanted or put you in danger's way. Because if it reports something and you didn't want it reported, it could put you in unintentional harm's way.
And that's what we talked about with the controller, to be able to, like, for different export options where you're at the desk at like the domestic violence legal, and you can send that out to somebody, or in different types of formats, PDF or just something maybe
Yeah, you could also export it as an encrypted database, and if somebody else has the app, they could open it as well.
Or you yourself use it, and then it's creating your exhibits and things like that to be able to attach to a petition.
Yeah.
So would this also will you be able to save voicemails into this? So
like audio?
voicemails?
Yeah, we want to do audio and video. Video is even harder to encrypt than photos. Audio is not as hard, and we just have to work on importing the audio in, but it's just a matter of time. Like, just do it. Like, we just didn't have enough time to implement it in 24 hours. Yeah.
So I'm just curious in terms of the rules of evidence and how that intersects with the photos and the audio, for example. How would you modify that depending upon the jurisdiction and what the rules of evidence might require in terms of authentication?
And we talked about that too, and one of the tricky things is, and not to give like a really crummy answer about this, but it's going to be one of those things where it may be best to discuss this with an attorney or somebody else. From what I know, at least being in the domestic violence courthouse in Chicago, anything goes. And so that's helpful, right? But you don't want to bank on that. You don't want to bank that OP on that. But to be able to, without giving somebody necessarily like a script you could potentially give some pointers on, we talked about this too, adding commentary to the photo.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
feeling and stuff like that.
but also if it is a photo, to, when was it taken, where was it taken, what was it taken with, things like that, and that would help lay a foundation without them even knowing it. Yeah.
Any last questions?
So would this be an app that you have on your phone only, or is it also a website where like you can go in, log in, and see all your documents and stuff like
For right now, it doesn't have cloud integration, so it wouldn't be web-based. We did that for security purposes.
Okay.
The emergency button would probably use an export function to the cloud because locally is more secure than having it in the internet, just in general. Like you have to trust. Ultimately, you have to trust the service provider, the server, and all the people maintaining that. They're not doing nefarious things with your data. So especially in things like with domestic violence, like you want to be really secure with the things you care about.
Especially if you're building a case over
Yeah,
a long
exactly.
period of time. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you have any way contemplated for people to migrate their data when they upgrade their phones?
Yeah, so export of an encrypted database would be the
And
next
then
step
an import-
function.
an
Yeah, and
import
import
from
it,
the- like,
yeah.
So then it would be to cloud, if they didn't want to.
No, they can, so you can export a database to like an SD card or something, or email it to yourself, because it's encrypted, so it doesn't matter if it's sent over an email, like nobody's, even if it's in a really crappy, sorry for my language, if it's in a really crappy platform, it's such an email that's not secure, it's encrypted, so it doesn't matter, like they can't open it anyways.
Plans for going forward?
Emergency cloud integration, import export function,
more states, all that jazz.
more states, yeah,
And then
translation.
Any team building that you've done to take that through, where you might go?
We have GitHub and hopefully maintain it. Like, it's always the hope, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.